DIY.
DIYers, there is a shift underway, and I hope that you can see it. It's almost like the shift that I'm getting ready to describe, specifically dealing with this Kendrick Lamar versus Drake back and forth, whatever you want to call it. It's almost like it's a bit of a dog whistle. Maybe not a dog whistle. It's almost like it's a war cry, and it's hitting the right people. I can tell you this. We've already done a whole breakdown about Kendrick Lamar's Euphoria song, and I'm starting to see how much bigger this is than just the back and forth of what they'll say, right? This will be a moment that will come and go. There's something happening, though, in hip hop, and I'm noticing it. And I'm noticing it not just with folks that are my age, but even with the younger listeners that are separating themselves from other people who, as I alluded to last time, some people wake up and put this culture on like a uniform, right? They know all the different name brands and all that. And then when they come home, they take it off. Some of us can't take it off when we go to sleep. So with that said, I think that this is bringing to attention a lot of different things, and really I think holes in the environment of a Drake. And the conversations that are being had are really, really interesting. And I want to share some of these with you so that you get a better idea. Some of you are like, oh, Curtis, you're so biased. What do you hate Drake? I don't know him. He might make delicious cookies. You know what I'm saying? He might be a great house guest. You feel me? Like he might be like, okay, Ned Flanders type of guy. But I don't like the domino effect of some of, I guess, the snarky ways or some of his like indifferent opinions towards this culture and the ethics that hold it up. So a lot of people are trying to rewrite this, and he has fans that I feel like are trying to help him rewrite it in the process. I want to start off with this video first. Shout out to my guy, the company man, Justin Hunt. Man, we've been talking back and forth on the phone for a few weeks as all of this stuff has been unraveling. It's been good to reconnect with him. He told me, man, he's, I'm proud of you, what you're doing with your media platform and all of that. He's like, keep on going. With that said, he has shared so many great points of views on this whole situation. What he said at the end of this video, which is called Drake Deserves the Smoke, I think you should check it out, the company man YouTube, I think is a great place to start this entire conversation that will span from not just how this battle is affecting hip hop, but also how it's bringing to light artists that get forgotten a lot of times in these conversations, even though they inspired some of your favorite artists. Word to Fonté. So in this, he's talking about him having a conversation. Justin has a conversation with Idi Amin from the Outlaws. Obviously, that was Pac's group. And obviously, he has his own perspective on Drake using the AI. Then this transitions into why the narrative in general may be switching towards Drake and what he actually represents in hip hop. Hear him out.
Instagram video, but I want to know how this is landing in a real way. So I spoke with the legendary Idi Amin, entrepreneur, super MC, and member of Tupac's group, The Outlaws. I'll post a full conversation, but here's some of Edie's initial reactions to Tailor Made Freestyle.
You know what? I have not spoken to Snoop, but a little birdie told me he wasn't that happy about it. You know what I mean? But you saw his reaction on the Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Snoop is forever. I think he's not here to, you know, make it an issue, so to speak. I would say this, man. Imagine if somebody took your voice and inserted you into a beef against somebody that you cool with. Now, I mean, like, yeah, you know, after the shits and giggles, it's like, well, hold on a second. Was I just violated? You know what I'm saying? Was I just, and I don't know if he got a phone call prior to Drake.
So for those of you that are probably, I assume, either younger viewers in this conversation, and you're wondering why people are still harping over this whole AI thing, like, damn it, he took it down. Tailor Made's not even up anymore. It's not a matter of it being taken down. That had to happen because a cease and desist was on its way anyways. It's not just about that. What this comes down to is also what decision making inspires a Drake to go that route. And why does he feel like he's bigger than the program or the exception to the rule, that he can be the one that can play with dead voices? Oh, that's dramatic, Curtis. I mean, what do you call it? And then speak from the perspective of another pioneer, another pillar of this West Coast hip hop movement, and Snoop, and you rap for him as well. Now, I got my own theories based upon the connection that Death Row Records has to Gamma, but that's neither here nor there. You're listening to Idi Amin, who was right there beside Pac, and he's giving you a perspective, because you got to understand, Outlaws, when it was time for rap battle, rap beefing, they were on the front line right there with Pac.
Man, hit Snoop and said, yo, this is what's coming. I don't know. But, yeah, put yourself in that position and, you know, see how you would feel about it. I think the estate did what they felt was the right thing to do. You know, you got to respect the code, and that includes Drake. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure we want people to respect the code if the shoes is on the other foot.
Talk about it.
The point is this. Social media has been flooded with memes comparing Kendrick and Future and Metro and Ye and ASAP and The Weeknd and Rick Ross to Marvel's superheroes, dubbing them the Rap Avengers, all teaming up to take down Drake. But perhaps that metaphor contains too much truth. Thanos' mission, after all, was to snap away half the population of the universe because he felt it was overcrowded. In 2023, in his annual letter to Universal, Lucian Grange slammed the current streaming model. He stated that he feels there are too many songs uploaded to streaming platforms.
Now, what's interesting about this, especially as we keep hearing Lucian name, obviously the music chief at Universal, big dog at Universal that makes a lot of decisions, and specifically now, a lot of decisions that are happening as them and Spotify get more buddy. You start to recognize that they're creating a landscape that supports their program more so than it does, of course, independent artists who are in direct competition by using these platforms. I think it was a very interesting thing for him to say. I know it's not about the topic, but it's an interesting thing for him to say because it shows that they have vested interests and less music being able to be online or in the streaming platforms. Nasty work.
Too many artists are eligible for monetization, and there was too much artificial intelligence. This year, though, he's championing AI, confirming Universal is heavily invested in the tool capable of getting rid of half the people in the music industry. He told Fast Company, AI at the service of artists is a good thing, but AI that is used to harm or prevent artists from due compensation is a bad thing. So our approach is to embrace responsible AI technology in a way that enhances human creativity. How is this done? By letting artists lead the way. That approach is at the heart of our collaboration with YouTube, as well as our partnerships with BandLab and others.
And my daddy got it.
Our approach is to embrace responsible AI technology in a way that enhances human creativity. How is this done? By letting artists lead the way. Well, in that sense, this entire chapter of Rap Battle World feels like one big AI advertorial, spearheaded by the biggest entity in music made palatable by Drake. Universal's #1 attack dog, armed with all the tools inside that behemoth's balance sheet. Drake's too big to fail financially, of course. None of his peers can realistically short his $400 million LeBron-sized deal, and he'll always have millions of fans around the world and essentially a decade of non-stop hit records, and the entire country of Canada holding him down. Drake's not going to go away. He's not going to vote himself off the island. He's not J. Cole.
I got my chin out.
Hey,
But
yo.
reputations aren't static. Reputations evolve. They can be chipped away and they can be rebuilt. Look at George W. Bush. W is the worst president of all time without question, and we know that because W broke the white streak to a nigga named Hussein Osama. That's how bad W was. Now he's a lovable old dude painting pictures of Putin. It can happen in either direction, and no one's exempt. Anybody can lose cultural cachet, and that includes Drake.
Cultural cachet. Oh, that's so brilliant.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Here's the thing. I think that people who are disconnected from this culture won't be able to understand the shift that is happening underway. I'm trying to build a case for it. So for those of you probably already checked out, I'm building a case for what is actually being affected. It's hard to see how your standing changes in culture until it's right there in front of your face, until you start to see drop-offs in certain urban areas when you were doing shows before, and all of a sudden your viewership, your attendance is down. It shows up in other ways in terms of, so much of the demographic that consumes hip-hop music and hip-hop content isn't just black folks, isn't just minorities in general, right? So much of it is different walks of life. However, one thing that you cannot ever stop is the importance that those minority groups and the role that they play in validating, this is it. This is it. We are the tastemakers in this. So with that said, moves like this make it seem like Drake feels like he's above the culture. And now a lot of these things are getting brought to light, specifically with this Euphoria record. That has been one of the things that I'm seeing so many think pieces that are saying, wait a minute, what has been the effect of the rise of Drake? Obviously, it's brought billions of dollars to rap music. Let's just say rap music. Let's separate that from hip hop culture, from rap music in general, right? Especially on a mainstream level. But what is the domino effect? And have we done something wrong to embrace it?
And that's what I see when I see all these titans going at Drake at the same time. A man who's been described as immoral, number-fixing, douchebag celebrity who calls the police on his homies, talk about their women in his music, shows a willingness to weaponize racism, and treats gods, rap gods, as pawns in his corporate AI advertorial.
Sit with that one for a second. Sit with that one for a second. No, we're not separating rap from hip hop. We're separating mainstream rap from hip hop because it is one of five. I'm trying not to read the chat, but it is one of the 5 elements of hip hop. Yes. But the bastardization, the commercialization that has occurred through these major label entities has morphed it into something completely different that is detached from its roots. That's what I'm talking about. We're not saying that rap is not a part of hip hop culture. I'm telling you that the bastardization of what's happened is very much separated from its core values, because the core values would not allow, especially knowledge of self, knowledge of this culture would not allow you to make a dumbass decision like using a dead man's voice, a legend, an iconic legend that you went and bought the ring of for $2 million. That would not go. You how many OGs would have been like, nah, young one, I understand that you engaging in war, but that's not the move. How do we know that? Because all of the OGs that are connected, from Mo Preem, who's Tupac's brother, from Idi Amin, who was part of the Outlaws, is saying that wasn't the move. We wouldn't do that. And they did some disrespectful shit when it came to them versus Bad Boy. They have standards. There's a ceiling. There's limitations. But once again, when somebody feels like they are bigger than the program, this is where they start to hurt themselves long term, because I think what's happening right now, as Drake is doing his best to win the internet, and Kendrick is obviously moving right now the culture, because you see the people who are reacting, I think it's showing how much Drake may underestimate the power of culture. I'm the biggest artist in the fucking world. What is the culture gonna do? You know what I'm saying? What is the culture gonna do? I'm me. I'm me. It can happen to anybody. Let him continue.
You can't take away Drake's money or his fans, but can you chip away at his cool points? Can the rap Avengers cut into his cultural cachet? Can Kendrick Lamar finally and officially pack that boy up?
Well, excellent breakdown, Justin. I want to actually go to some of these things, and I want to break down more of the concepts we've already talked about. This was a post that I saw. I want to go ahead and get this situated so you guys can see what I see. Let's turn this off. So this was a post that I saw on Instagram I thought was really interesting. They posted it from their Twitter account, and it's by someone named Configure. I made a similar statement, and maybe I'll go ahead and cover that after this, but Configure said, the Kendrick response definitely draws a metaphorical line in the sand. Culture versus commerce. You know, the first thing I thought about when I read that first line was Mos Def and how much hell Mos Def caught when he said that, Drake's music is like likable. It's like you going Target shopping, and everybody tried to call, not even everybody, those who are detached from the ethics and the core values of hip hop, those kind of folks, the ones who are on the commerce side, they said, that nigga's a hater. Look at him. He's wearing a dress right here. Your whole argument is negated. It's funny how it came back, huh? Maybe we should start listening to our OGs. Maybe they're not all haters. I listen to my OGs, but maybe they're not all haters, huh? Maybe they actually know some shit. Maybe they forgot more shit than we know. Who knows, right? So he goes on to say morals versus money, bars versus bills. Kendrick has positioned himself as a cultural guardian and Drake as the personification of corporate greed.
Somebody gonna have to tell it.
Let him cook.
I'm gonna tell it.
Let him cook, though. Let him cook, though. Let's move it on. So shout out my guy, DJ Head. He has been such an important voice, first as a DJ, as a media content creator in this space, on the radio, all that good stuff. If you've been out here on the coast, you understand his significance. I've even had the opportunity, I mean, I've known him for years, but he's DJ'd a few of my shows. So when I saw him catching flack for, you know, just big up in his guy, Kendrick Lamar, and then Drake, he made a comment and DJ Academics posted it on his page, and then Drake left a comment that was like, use me as a Kendrick don't have a response record yet. He came back. He spun the block and said, well, let me follow up on that. So what he said first, just to give you context, he said, here go that nothing drop. He said, that nothing dropped and it's going crazy, huh?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell
Don't mind me. That's West Coast bias. Let's get over here. Because this kind of walks you down the impact, culturally speaking, that this Euphoria record by Kendrick Lamar is having. I think people are going to still talk. They've been talking about the Push-Ups record by Drake because it's like, oh my gosh, look at him talking about Kendrick like that. But there's a reason why, as DJ Academics highlights here, Euphoria did 9,206,498 streams on Spotify globally just yesterday. Mind you, this is dated the 2nd, which is today that I'm recording this. To put it in perspective, it's the biggest global streaming day by any hip-hop song released in 2024 on Spotify.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Wait! I thought nobody wanted to hear bars. I thought we was over that. I thought we was over the bars. Someone here asked, is that because of Drake? Absolutely. You got to give credit, but you got to ask the question, why didn't the same thing happen for Joe Budden when he released his diss song of Drake? And it was fantastic. Why hasn't it happened to any of the other people outside of Kendrick that made fantastic arguments for why they were opposing Drake? So I think you give it credit because obviously it's a high profile battle, but that song, absolutely, and I'm glad you asked that. That song has had a very interesting domino effect within the culture. What do I mean? Well, let's just start with these internet stats that matter to the folks who don't care about hip hop culture. The audio for Kendrick Lamar's Euphoria is currently the #1 trending video on YouTube in the United States. Before I go to this Joe Budden clip, let me go to something else. I want to show you this. I thought it was really funny. So inside of the song Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar, he makes a statement where he's talking about a certain restaurant. I didn't know that it was a restaurant in Chinatown in Canada, right? Located in Toronto. He name drops it. Look what happened after that name drop happened.
It's been an over decade-long feud, and now a new Kendrick Lamar diss record targeting Toronto's own Drake has one local Chinese restaurant caught in the middle, but in a good way. New Ho King on Spadina was mentioned in the song Euphoria, and now the owner says they have since been showered with 5-star reviews.
Talk about me and my family, Crody. Someone go bleed in your family, Crody. I be a New Ho King.
There you go. That's right.
Wow.
I learn how to sing the song now.
Johnny Liu is the owner of New Ho King in Chinatown. He says since last night, his phone has been blowing up with messages.
This morning, a lot of people text me. He said, "Oh, look at that. That's your restaurant?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "Oh, look at that. Look at the song."
Don't speak on the family, Crody. You can get deep in the family, Crody.
In the song, Kendrick Lamar jokingly pokes fun at the Toronto accent and slang. He then specifically mentioned the restaurant and their fried rice.
I be a New Ho King eating fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, Crody.
He said, good food, and maybe the fried rice get more rice. The chef gonna be busy.
Since the song
Wow.
was released Tuesday, Google reviews for the establishment have been soaring with positive feedback, with most mentioning the song and their now famous dish.
Whoa, 7 minutes ago.
So people are mentioning the song that
Yeah, excuse the audio, by the way. This is their audio, which is like messed up for whatever reason. That's not me, but yeah, it is what it is.
Kendrick.
Yep, I see that Kendrick's a good guy. Oh my God.
Lou says he expects more customers will be stopping by since he's been receiving this international attention. Even today, customers we spoke to said they made their way to Chinatown to try the fried rice, thanks to the American rapper.
I came all the
Insane.
way from Markham just to see this fried rice, man. Kendrick Lamar, you gotta pay respect to K-Dot, man. Ever since he dropped the diss track, I was like, I gotta visit this place.
You got to understand. Hold on, let me do this. You got to understand. This is not to say that Drake can't have that kind of influence, if not larger than Kendrick Lamar mentioning it in a diss song. This is to show you how multi-layered a diss like that is. You look at it and you're like, oh, he's just shouting out a restaurant in the city. And then you realize, outside of the culture of OVO and 66666, how much have you learned about Toronto or Canada in general, culturally speaking? How much have you learned through Drake's music? Oh, wait. I was having this conversation with someone and he brought this point up, and this is his point, but I thought about it and I didn't want to put his name in it because I'm not sure if he wanted that to be public, but how much do you really hear about his culture? No, so much of his music is his relationship. So much of his culture is about, or so much of the conversation is about the people he's featured with, right? Dabbling into other cultures, but you really don't get to know a whole lot about the culture of Canada in general, unless it's completely connected to his brands. So for Kendrick to put it on display, this is the power of culture. I could change a business by literally mentioning it in this diss song. And that's not the focus of the diss song, which is crazy. Something else I thought was really funny. See if I can find this real quick. Well, this might be an honorable mention, but here's one of the reviews I saw. Let's if I get the reviews, because a lot of those are just people who are just fans who just want to be a part of the experience. Someone said, C. Wang said, I was a deadbeat father and never raised my son right. Today, a thought suddenly came to me as I crossed the authentic Chinese restaurant. While I was eating the fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, I was inspired to go home. Hold on, he said, what did he say? While I was eating my fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, I was inspired to go home, wake my son up every morning, tell him to pray, and give him tools to walk through life day to day. New Ho King's food has taught me morals, integrity, and discipline. Thank you, Crody. 5 out of 5 food service. That is hilarious. Oh, that's hilarious. Thank you, Kendrick, for teaching us something about the culture that circulates the area that Drake represents. Speaking of which, let me see if I want to get this other clip off before we. Oh, last thing I'll say about the impact of the diss song. I don't know how many of you are watching the TNT and ABC and all these NBA playoffs. My Lakers got kicked out, so I stopped watching for a little bit. I'm gonna watch again. I got a little angry, but I missed this moment right here where TNT inside the NBA started playing the Kendrick diss song during one of the transitions before. Oh God, listen to this.
Point lead for the visitors in a game 5 that will give somebody the series lead before it goes back to Dallas for game 6. American Express halftime report.
And before you think somebody just added that, listen to them commenting on it.
Studio J here in Atlanta, Ernie Johnson. Got the Chuckster, you got the Jet, man. You got Shaq.
What y'all putting us in the middle of the rap beef, man? Come on, man.
Euphoria?
We right in the middle of the rap beef.
In the background.
We in the middle of the rap beef, man. Come on,
DJ
man.
Point lead.
Fam, I just need you to see that there's a difference when someone touches the internet. When somebody has a moment in the internet, maybe this will be a lesson for those of you that are culture vultures and don't understand. I think you do understand the power of culture. When you win the internet, you go viral, but it dies the minute something else takes its attention. When you win the culture, we'll be talking about it forever, as long as we're a part of the culture. Culture moments are forever. Culture moments hit a different way. You got to understand, the same way you'll see Drake stand by certain artists to kind of like validate his street connection, his mob ties. These networks are standing next to what they feel like is the closest pulse to the culture. So, of course, they're playing this song. They're not playing push-ups. First of all, let me just say this as a hip-hop fan. Can you imagine if No Vaseline by Ice Cube would have been played during a commercial break on like NBA on NBC? Could you imagine? When you touch the culture, you touch forever. Let's keep it going. So in the midst of all that is going on, I need you to understand the trickle-down nature of the culture. I need you to understand, if you don't by now, someone leaked. You know how Kendrick mentioned that there was a cease and desist on the Like That record? I was like, how the hell could you cease and desist a Like That record when there was no samples used, whatever the case? Well, Gotham Hip Hop Joey, very popular account here on Twitter, he says, wow, this is a leaked email that shows legal correspondence from Republic Records, Drake's label, trying to block the Like That from getting radio play. That's not hip hop. The email was sent to Epic Records, Future's label, saying, we are not granting radio rights for Like That. Epic does not have the right to release this song at radio. On Euphoria, Kendrick says, try cease and desist on that Like That record, huh? Oh, you on Like That record? To make matters worse, Drake and Metro both have deals with Republic. Meaning they tried to block their own artist's song from radio. Kendrick really dropped a bombshell.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I don't expect the people who are culture vultures to understand how much this is shaking shit up. For you, it's like, well, that's not a big deal. It's just an email. You don't understand. These are companies that have control over everything. This is Universal. Someone that is underneath Universal is scrambling to try to pick up the pieces because of this cultural impact. Hip hop is changing. And at the forefront of it right now, in this moment, whether you think the song is good or not, it doesn't matter. This double entendre laced, this lyricism on high display, this fine art of lyricism in hip hop, this research that people are doing to see, like, what's that reverse part? Is that from the Oz? Oh, that's Richard Pryor. The people that are increasing the business of a local restaurant in Toronto, that's cultural impact. You can't buy that shit. You can't buy that. And unfortunately, some people think that they're bigger than the culture and they can buy it. Let's keep it going. You know, I'm always interested in hearing a perspective from somebody who actually knows about Canada, who actually knows about what it means to come up there. Because I'm gonna be honest, as someone who's from California, I've never been to Canada. All I know are the things that I see through my friends or people that I've met. I don't know what that's like to be black in Canada. I don't know what that's like to be of mixed descent in Canada. Why does that matter? Because the perspective that this gentleman gives here, this is a career coach and technical recruiter that is a longtime resident of Canada. And he talks about his perspective, knowing more things about Canada. He goes by the Job Father. He had an amazing thread that didn't sound like it was malicious, but it did sound like it was rooted in actual experience. So check this out. First tweet that he has in this thread, he says, there's an interview with Drake floating around where he's talking about he didn't know racism until it went stateside. First, let's get something straight. Black Canadians face an absurd amount of racism in Canada, from police interactions to housing to redlining to job opportunities and wage suppression, all of it. An encounter with the police can end with us dead. Now, I tried to locate the video. Instead, I found this article. And it disappoints and does not disappoint in terms of us figuring out where the hell that kind of conversation came from. So this was an interview that Drake had, and I cannot see the exact source. I'll definitely, if I find that, I'll put that here in the show notes. But it says, I've always had friends from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life. We all get along. Drake told the radio host, I've never really noticed color, religion. We don't live like that. There's not that much segregation in Canada, especially in Toronto. It's a cultural mosaic. You don't ever develop hate. He also discussed his trouble with integrating into American rap industry, not because of his race, but more because of his nationality. You following? The first time, let me get this right. He says, the first time I really experienced racism was when I got famous and went to America, and people would challenge me like I don't understand how it works, or like, you're Canadian, you'll never understand the Black American struggle, he said. That was the first time I had ever gotten challenged. If I ever feel like an outsider, it's usually because I'm not American. Remember when Kendrick was talking about, I guess, some of the OVO niggas being dig riders and, you know, them not understanding the culture, but they'll never understand this kind of violence? Does that kind of give you a little bit of perspective? I know I butchered that line, but does that give a little bit of perspective? So this thread goes on to say, this is where it gets really interesting. He says, the criticism of Drake is valid because his upbringing was pretty divorced from that, meaning the brutalities and the encounters that a lot of Black Canadians have. He grew up in one of Toronto's whitest and richest neighborhoods and was a teenage actor on a pretty popular sitcom before blowing up as a rapper at 23. But Drake's experience is not the norm for Black people in Canada. And to say we don't experience racism or we live with the nice white people who don't indulge in hate is wild. And Ontario still has sundown towns. He grew up privileged. And to not encounter anti-Black racism until his 20s, most of us learn and experience that shit from childhood. When you see things like that, it starts to paint a picture of someone's character. Think about that photo that you see on the thumbnail right now, right? This is not about Drake hate. Please use your brain. Please use your brain. Hate don't make you do research like this. It's not about hate. This is bigger. This is a problem that's going to exist whether it's Drake's name or insert the next person's name. Whether you insert AI, whether you insert effing Mecca. It's people who do not have the best interests of the culture dictating the direction of the culture by changing the minds, changing the rules of said culture by infiltrating the minds of the younger ones. But not all is lost. I'm not one that says, oh, the kids are going to hell. Oh, man, it's all bad from here. No. All is not lost. I got a lot of hope in these kids. Damn it, I got a lot of hope in these kids. This TikToker, One Serenity Jane, she started to make connections that many of us as hip hop fans have already known. One of which is going to give us an opportunity to celebrate who I feel is one of the greatest rappers and singer combinations in Fonté. Listen to this young lady discover Drake cosplaying as Pusha T. Not Pusha T. Drake cosplaying as Fonté. I'm gonna let you take it from here.
So I've been seeing this comment a lot. A lot of people have been saying that Drake got his style from Fonté from Little Brother. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't remember Little Brother. I had to do some research, and I see they used to rock with Kanye, which is crazy because I've always been a big ass Kanye fan. But anyway, that Minstrel Show album by Little Brother was my soundtrack when I was working at Quiznos when that first came out. So when I heard the young Canadian, I was like, comeback season. What is this? Go ahead. I did my research, and when I played a song by him, I literally had to check my phone and look at it because I thought I was hearing Drake. I thought I was hearing Drake's voice. Y'all have to listen to this shit. Close your eyes when y'all listen to this. Y'all gonna be like, what the fuck? Do as she says. If you have never done this before, if you've never heard this song before, close your eyes. Once again, this is not about anything except for building a case of how hip-hop culture is shifting because of this. Conversations are being had by younger listeners where they're doing research they don't have to do. That's Fonté talking, by the way, on a song by the group he was in with Big Pooh called Little Brother, where the producer was Ninth Wonder, part of the group as well, featuring Joe Scudder, by the way.
I got the number down right here. I'm looking at it. I couldn't believe she would do me like that, B. I just don't understand it, dog. Can't understand it. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome y'all back to the Minstrel Show. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all can be watching a lot of other stations. Y'all tuning us right now, and it feels so beautiful. Performing in blackface tonight is my nigga, Joe Scudder. He's coming up a little bit later on in the show.
Oh, I love when the kids start asking questions. That is not some big aha moment. Drake has been very, very open about Fonté being one of his biggest influences. However, I am going to go ahead and step out on the line and say I feel like Drake, and I've said it before, Drake is one of the most successful, most connected cultural vultures that we have ever seen. And I stand on that 1,000% till I am gone from here. Because when I see all that is cosplaying, when I see the way that culture vultures act, you know the way culture vultures act, because they've done it with me. They tell you how much they love what you do. Some of you have had this happen to you. They tell you how much they love what you do. They tell you how much you're such an inspiration to them. And then they sit around you long enough to learn the thing that they're inspired by until they're no longer surprised by it. And then they take it. And then they use or leverage their larger audience than you because of whatever benefits they have, right? Ethnically speaking or physically speaking, they use those benefits, and then people forget the person you got your inspiration from even fucking exists. That is what culture vulturism is all about. That's why we can't say culture vulturism is just people that don't, it's not just white people. It's not just, it can be all people. They come in all colors. Listen to Fonté talking about when he was invited to collaborate with Drake and how much he had glowing respect for Fonté.
What up, little bro? And I have.
When I heard the joint and the fear, you know what I'm saying, it just made me proud, you know what I'm saying. I was glad to know that I was able to inspire someone from the next generation just as someone had inspired me beforehand, and it was just almost like a passing of the torch, or just, you know, things kind of coming full circle for me. So, you know, and also just, you know, the fact that he was a person that was very open about sharing his influences, you know what I'm saying, and it's a lot of cats that, you know, like to act as if their music is created in a vacuum. But Drake was just very honest, like, look, I fuck with Little Brother, I fuck with Slum Village, these are the cats that helped shape me, and I really appreciate that. I thought that was very generous of him.
So, Fonté, not sure if this video will ever make it to you. I know the last video that I did make it to you, where I covered what you guys were talking about on the Math Alpha podcast. Your contribution, especially even to my generation, bro, your contribution is something that will forever be unforgettable. I don't care how it gets rebranded. I don't care how folks try to minimize your contributions. You came at a time where a lot of rappers were just rapping, and they were, you know, they would get the R&B singers and try to find somebody that they can get that feel, get that by loud feel. The fact that you were singing and being so brave with not just the singing in your music, but also with the topics you would talk about, which were supremely vulnerable. You showed us what was possible. And the fact that the topics were so relatable, salute and hats off. I, too, get just as angry as you did in 2019 when New York Times did what they did, you know, because a lot of these folks are the extension of the culture vulture, and they say, the New York Times, so basically the headline says, Fonté calls out the New York Times for giving Drake his credit. The New York Times, this is on Hip Hop DX, by the way. The New York Times ran an article on Sunday, November 24th, 2019, titled, "Rappers Are Singers Now. Thanks, Drake." Now, Fonté's not the first. He's not the first. I've had one of my subscribers, talk about the contributions of Biz Markie. Oh, baby, you. In the same light, we got to make sure that we highlight rappers like Domino, West Coast on mine, Domino, Sweet Potato. You know what I'm saying? Like Ghetto Jam. We got to make sure the contributions are given as well. But Fonté did it in such a unique way because he was a lyricist that you did not want to play with. So the combination of being highly skilled as a lyricist and highly skilled as a songwriter, singer, was something very unique. But the author of that New York Times article goes on to say that the So Far Gone mixtape released in February 2009 marked the arrival of a new path, singing as rapping, rapping as singing, singing and rapping all woven together in one holistic whole. I hate it here. I hate it here. Oh, I hate it here. I hate it here. Yes, we got to give props absolutely to Far Side. I'm not trying to alienate nobody. I just want to say that there are people who deserve their props. Biz Markie was his song, You Say You're Just a Friend, where he just sang on the hook, went as high as, I think, number 9 on the Billboard charts in 1991. In 1993, Domino, who at that time had Ghetto Gem, it reached up to number 7, which was the highest that you heard a rap sang song reach the Billboard charts at that point. That's why I credited that. That's why I wanted to talk about that, because maybe it'd be a little bit more understandable. So Drake exploded the notion that those component parts had to be delivered by 2 different people, and also deconstructed what was expected from each of them, like a rapper and a singer. His hip hop was fluid, not dogmatic, and in so remaking it, he set the template for what would eventually become the global pop norm. Ja Rule, yes, Bone Thugs. But once again, let's not forget about vulnerability being a part of the equation of what they're trying to give Drake credit for. See, this is where it starts to feel like Drake has a disconnect from the culture. There's a disconnect. And maybe perhaps that disconnect has to do with his upbringing, as we talked about with the other gentleman. Maybe that disconnect has to do with his animosity towards the racism he saw when he first came to the States. Maybe the animosity is, maybe the energy is, I'm bigger than the culture now. I gave y'all just due. I gave you a feature. I showed you props. What more do you want from me? Who knows what it is? Whatever it is, it feels detached. And it has not felt as detached, I think, in front of a mainstream audience as it does right now because of Euphoria. We don't want to hear you say nigga no more. Fonté looked at this article and his response was, the more you try to erase me, the more I appear. Like today. In a follow-up tweet, Fonté doubled down and reminded everyone he's been singing and rapping years before Drake ever stepped on the scene. Can you imagine the person that said that you inspired them? They are now saying that he was the creator of the thing that you inspired. I'm thankful to make a good living doing what I do, and awards, accolades never meant much to me, he wrote. But I refuse to let you mother effers rewrite history while the niggas who helped shape it are still breathing. They don't even wait till you die no more. That is the cultural shift that is happening. The internet levels the playing field. We have access to all kind of information to pull up. Now, to be fair, as of recent, Drake has definitely shown his respect and admiration for certain hip hop artists. I've always had, call me a hater, I've always had skepticism around this. Is this you overcompensating for a lack of melanin by showing how connected you are, no matter how disconnected financially you are, no matter how disconnected you are through your features? Is this your way of showing I'm still down with the movement? Look at me posting. I spent my night last night listening to some of the greatest artists ever. Fontigolo. Yeah, and I even add him. That's how much love I show. Dwelle. Yeah, Dwelle. You gotta love it. Slum Village. Oh, you didn't think I knew about them, huh? Yeah, I thought my extent was just J Dilla. I know Slum Village. Elzai. You're damn right I give love to the culture. I wonder how much of this, and I'm just speaking from my own opinion, is performative. That's what makes it problematic. That's why I believe we're seeing a bit of a pushback right now. And I got to shout out my guy, Dorian, Group 82. He texted me that article, not the article, the thread by the gentleman in Canada. We had a great conversation about this last night. He did some amazing content for this culture. But look at this, man. Look at this. Look at these hip hop moments. God, I love how, once again, regardless of how you feel about Kendrick's song, okay? I want to respect that. You could have your own opinion. I want to respect that. Regardless of how you feel about the song, what you can't ignore is that there's a domino effect when songs like this happen. There's a domino effect happening where a lot of lyricists are speaking up on the craft and having to even feel like they need to defend the craft. Now, Crooked Eye, one of the greatest lyricists, greatest pens of all time. Period. Argue with your mother. Period. Crooked Eye. Respect the skill. If you don't know, ask your favorite. Ask Eminem how much of a beast Crooked Eye is. West Coast representative, West Coast pillar, especially as someone who's continuing to do this craft at a high level, push the bar because he cares about culture. Here's what he had to say about some of the pushback that people have been giving, not even just the Euphoria song, but like people who still champion lyricism. That's crazy that we're saying that. Oh man, give me my shit stupid, man. I don't want to hear that. I don't have to think about my music. Make that shit like my TikTok feed. Oh gosh. Here's what he had to say.
It's lyricism on display. And I'm a champion at lyricism. You fucking ABC rap cheerleaders. You love that dumbed down shit. Just how you get on there and talk your shit, I'm gonna get on here and talk my shit.
I heard that.
I champion lyricism, homie.
Yeah.
That's what I champion. All them layers, all them concepts, all them entendres, all them style switches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with that life.
Yeah.
I'm about that life.
Yeah.
When it comes time to be competitive, don't be afraid to dig in your toolbox. Just because all these other platforms and rap media, talking heads is telling you to dumb it down so they can understand it as soon as they hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to run to their platforms after one listen and go.
Crooked Eye says something right there. Hold on.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
We've talked about this before. And matter of fact, we can move over to these tweets that I have after this. You ever thought about how the playlisters that are like the new gatekeepers for the biggest streaming platforms like Spotify, the playlisters have a certain way that they think music should sound, a certain length, a certain format, a certain use of autotune or without the use of autotune, whatever the case may be. They get to literally carve the sound of music by telling these young artists who are submitting music off, that's not good enough. You should change this, this, and this. Have you thought about what the domino effect of how they're changing music is? Skip that. Let's get to the biggest content creators out here like a DJ Academics. As you're seeing artists and they're trying to figure out ways to kind of leverage the platform of big media voices like an Academics, and they see the things that he gets excited about, that changes the sound of music. As they see other outlets who are like, I don't get all of this lyrical shit, I ain't really with that, that changes the sound of music. Not for the better. It changes it so that they can talk about the content and feel like they're smart about the content. This has nothing to do with, once again, this is what happens when you're dealing with cultural entities, cultural vultures that are detached from the core of hip hop. This ain't about bringing the golden age back. This is about making sure that you're not disconnected from your family values, because that is going to lead you into the future with your head on straight. Shout out to Crooked Eye. I put that video up. He said respect, and I said I genuinely appreciate you and the culture, and you in this culture, and you continue to. Excuse me. I said I genuinely appreciate you in this culture. You continue to go to bat for it. It needed to be said. And he said likewise, bro. Keep going, man. Huge respect. Huge respect. Shout out to him.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
In the same way he talked about that, I'm always stand by this culture. I'm gonna always defend this culture because I love this culture. This culture changed my life. Way before it changed my life as a rapper myself. Way before it changed my life. It made me listen to music that I didn't know could have such a physical and mental effect on me as I'm listening to it. In a lot of ways, it gave me tutelage. It gave me teaching. It gave me direction, right? There's certain things I maybe didn't feel comfortable talking to my pops about, but I heard certain rappers talk about certain things, and I said, sometimes it's good advice, sometimes it's bad advice, but it's some advice to work off of. When it was balanced, when the music had more of a spectrum, right? When it was, you had more choices. When you had a De La Soul, when you had an NWA. Like there was a time period, I read it in a Michael Eric Dyson book, where he talks about there was a time period where Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff were on tour because he's underneath Def Jam with NWA. Just think about that for a second. NWA and Fresh Prince were on the same tour. But at least you had choices. We're living in a time period now where they're trying to squash. Matter of fact, let me go back to my tweets because this is important. I know this video is running longer. I don't care. This needs to be said. We're living in a time period now where they're trying to literally squash as much as they can intelligence in music and replace it with artificial intelligence that they can control. It's not conspiracy. It's happening. I want to run back to some of these tweets that I got here. I pissed off some Drake fans with this one. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. This had nothing to do with the story, but I had to say this because it's once again building up my whole conversation. This guy down here named Jeezy said, this has to be for engagement. You've been sucking off Kendrick for weeks. Hey, yo. I should have made a compilation, but I didn't want it sitting in my phone because that's suspect. There's so many male Drake fans. I have not had one female Drake fans. I thought it was majority females. I have not had one female Drake fan tell me how upset they are with the words that I said. It's only been guys. It's only been guys. I told him, sometimes I wonder why male Drake fans have such an infatuation with tweeting about male fellatio and glazing. And damn it, then I remember who your favorite rapper is.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Chill, Curtis. Chill. Bro, like, I love the culture more than I dislike Aubrey. But my love for the culture makes me look fucking crazy at some of the things that I see from Drake. Drake, Nicki Minaj, concert. What I gotta do? That's a weird thing to put in. I'm not even gonna talk about the nails. I'm not even gonna talk about the nails. That has nothing to do with nothing, okay? That's your prerogative. You do what you want to do. I ain't gonna talk about the nails. That's none of my business, right? You got your own thing. Can we talk about this for a second though? This is real brief. This happened last night. Drake was invited out on stage at a Nicki Minaj concert, and the last thing he said before he left off the stage was this in front of a room full of barbs.
What's up? It's Megan Thee Stallion, aka.
A room full of barbs. It's a Nicki Minaj show. A room full of barbs. I'm going to keep saying that. A room full of barbs who are just there to see that girl and Megan Thee Stallion. And they're surprised to see Drake. Here's what he says to the barbs.
I love you so much. You know what time it is. You know what I got to do. I love you.
We're in a hip-hop battle right now. That size 7 is in your ass right now. Hip-hop is questioning your participation in this culture and whether you've been just being a vulture, whether your alliance with the sexy reds of the world is all strategic, whether you're just infiltrating all of these different areas because you're doing the work of Universal. We got questions about what the fuck is going on here. Why do you get to put barrettes and shit in your hair and be the guy that was in a wheelchair on Degrassi? Who allowed you to be in all these different segments, all these different gangs, all these different areas? How are you allowed to just work your way through there? He tells a room full of barbs.
I love you so much. You know what time it is. You know what I got to do.
I love you so much. You know what I got. I love you so much. Hold on, let me go back. I want to mix his words up.
I love you so much. You know what time it is.
I love you so much. You know what time it is. You know what I got to do. Handle this nigga Kendrick. At a Nicki Minaj concert, that's where you want to make that statement. Disconnected. At the very least, just tone deaf. I don't have to say anything. Your guy keeps doing it for me. I got to the point today where I was like, I'm not going to say anything about Drake. I'm going to leave this whole conversation alone. But they keep coming into my timeline wanting some smoke. And I'm like, leave me the hell alone. I'm just asking questions and it's making people so offended. There's a series of threads that I want to make sure that we get into because I feel like they're relevant to this conversation. Was it before this? Okay, yeah, this is one of them. Let me talk about this. So I put this tweet here on April 30th. I said, as we move, make sure this is on the screen, full screen. I said, look, check it out. As we move out of this weird era of rap that we're currently in, please let the record reflect. Some of us let rappers that didn't know how to write, I just be going off the dome. I don't be writing and shit. I don't be doing all that writing shit. Make music for listeners that think music that requires thinking is automatically mid. Then position those folks as the leading voices of the culture. That is nasty work, ladies and gentlemen.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You know, I used to hate the term gatekeeping until I realized this is how you keep the vultures out. Every single one of you lock the doors in your house. Why? To keep people from coming in and taking shit away from you. From people coming in and taking the things you worked your ass off for, the foundation, just to come take it away because you don't have any gates up. And that has been the one issue that I've had with hip hop. And it's not all our fault because, man, a lot of folks who were the leaders of this were kids and had no idea. There was no reference of how they would do this, right? Maybe jazz, like I said, my grandfather said. He said, don't let them do to your hip hop what they did to jazz. Maybe that's a reference, but this is something that's still so new and different. I also said this. Challenge all culture vultures. Stop allowing disconnected playlist curators to define how hip hop music should sound. Stop allowing the algorithms to control your creativity. Stop allowing just any listener with a loud enough mouth alter the direction of your God-given gift. Do you hear me, DIYers? Do you hear?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell
This is deeper than Drake versus Kendrick. This is commercialism versus culture. And the side that you stand on, I hope is the side that you stand on in your 20s, it'd be in your 40s. Because if not, you may regret some of the things that you're allowing them to change the narrative on. Fam. They're changing the narrative right before our eyes. They're rewriting history. There's one other thing that I said here that I want to make sure that I draw attention to as well. I think that might be it. Let's end it off here. I think it's a good place to go. DIYers.
DIY.
I hope that you can, if you made it this far, you obviously love this culture. You obviously have at least an open mind to understanding why are there 20 people trying to come at Drake? Why are there all these people? Start to look at some of those people in their connection to this culture, their contributions to this culture, and how they're seeing things that we can't see that are shifting the culture in a way that even disconnects them. I know that there's a whole saying of rap is a young man's sport. I don't think it was our people that made that. I don't think it was our people that said that. I think we agreed with it, but that feels like label business. If I get you when you're young, I can manipulate you. I can make millions off of you. And if I make sure that the young artists that come after you look at you as an old head and push you off to the side, I can repeat and rinse and repeat and repeat and rinse. What I'm seeing is an issue that's bigger than Drake, but Drake just happens to be the mascot of what's going on. And to me, it's a bastardization of this culture that so many of us still love, and not just love to put on. A culture that we take with us to job interviews. a culture that I remember working at Quiznos, and the dude came up to me. He was like, "You a rapper, huh?" I said, "How do you know that?" "I don't know, man. Something about your swag." They said swag back then, kids. Something about your swag. I just know. Maybe I had my hat cocked to the side. I don't know what it was. A hat cocked to the side. I don't know what it was. But he's like, "Nigga, you rap, don't you?" I was like, you damn right I do. Curtis King is my name. You know, I'm going to give you a little bit of a personal tidbit before I end this off, because I think it's important to understand where I'm coming from, because so many of you going to look at me and be like, "Look at this light skin nigga. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?" Right? You're probably biracial. You're probably Puerto Rican. Y'all don't know what I am. I'm like every race in one man, like the 99 Summer Jam. Shout out to Nas. My experience has been a black experience, but my experience has been one that, although it may not look like it, my background, black, father black, mother black. You go further down the line on my mother's side, you'll start to see some different backgrounds. But being black is not the question. It's about your connection within this culture. It's about your connection with the nuances, the fears that you feel sometime. I moved out to this area that I'm living in now, much better than any area that I've ever lived in before. Thank God I could afford to get out here. I had to wait till my late 30s to get here because every single place I went to, from Carson, California, to staying in South Central California, to Long Beach, to then eventually the IE and Rialto, San Bernardino, like all these different places I stayed in. I was never a street dude, but I was street smart and I understood the importance of understanding the code. I knew you can never be bigger than the program. It's so funny that you see all these conspiracy theories that talk about celebrities that drink the blood of babies to stay young. Crazy shit, right? Nobody ever talks about figure pieces, famous rappers that drink the blood of hip hop so they can stay relevant. Someone told me that there could be a Drake diss dropping any second. That's cool. If it's not him rapping, I'm not interested. If it's him pulling out sassy headlines that Shade Room would post, I'm not interested. If you want to rap, you got the listener. Someone like me. I'm not your demographic, though. I can see it's the streamers. It's the Kai Sanats. It's the Aiden Rosses. As somebody that loves this culture, and the majority of my homies is lyricists just like me, all we want is for rappers to rap again. You on your rock star shit, that's cool. You on your, you know what I'm saying? You on your singing shit, that's what's up, bro. You evolving. Why can't we get rappers to just fucking rap again?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Why are we in IG stories? And this doesn't just go for Drake, this goes for Rick Ross. Why are we in IG stories? It's funny. This is so disconnected, though, from the culture I love. But a change is coming. Whether you can see it or not, I think those who know, if you know, you know. Those who are wearing it as a uniform, you might want to start looking in Party City for another one. Those are my thoughts, though, DIYers. You let me know what you think.
DIY.